The lights should have been off. Miss Marple stopped. Rosebud tea room glowed. Past hours. 9:30. Too late for business. Mrs. Farweather never broke rules. Her clockwork habits were known to all. Marple gripped her stick. She pushed the door, unlocked. Strange. The bell tinkled, hollow. "Mrs. Farweather?" she called. No answer. Her eyes narrowed. Tables neat, chairs aligned, flowers fresh, in vases. But one table was not neat. The corner table, the owner's table. Mrs. Farweather sat stiff in her chair, her eyes wide, her lips parted, her face fixed in shock, a cup before her. Steam rose faintly, gray tea, the same blend she always drank. Ledger open beside her, pen set down, work interrupted, another cup. Across from her, empty, untouched. A chair pushed back, napkin fallen. Someone had sat there. Someone had left. Marple's chest tightened. She stepped closer. She saw the truth. Mrs. Farweather was dead. The door creaked. Behind her. Dr. Haydock entered. He set his bag down. He touched her wrist. He checked her eyes. He leaned back, grim. "Poison," he said, flat. "Digitalis, likely. Look at her pupils. Smell the faint almonds? Classic sign." Marple nodded once. She drank her tea. She died quickly. The doctor glanced at the second cup. Someone sat here. Someone with her. "Yes," Marple whispered. "They left. In haste." Footsteps echoed from the street. Heavy. Brisk. The door burst open. Inspector Slack stepped in, notebook ready, eyes scanning. "Well then," he said. "Looks straightforward enough. Poisoned in her own shop. We'll sort this fast." Marple looked at him. Her voice was quiet. Her eyes sharp. "Inspector," she said. "Nothing here is straightforward." The chair was pushed back too far. Miss Marple stood still. Her eyes moved slow. The scene spoke. Another presence lingered. The ledger was open, figures in neat lines, a page, turned halfway. Beside it, folded papers, bank slips, withdrawals, large sums, too large for daily trade. The second cup sat empty, not touched, no stain, no drop. A guest had been here, but did not drink. The chair told more. It leaned awkward, not tucked in, as if someone rose fast. In haste. In fear. Inspector Slack bent forward. He scribbled notes. Money on the table, withdrawn, yesterday. Ledger left out. This was robbery, clear as daylight. Marple shook her head. Her lips pressed thin. Her voice low. "Not robbery. Fear." Slack frowned. "Money's here, but the sums are odd. Withdrawn for a purpose. Yet untouched. That means—" Marple cut in. "It means the thief wasn't after cash. It means she faced someone she knew, someone who frightened her." Slack scowled. "Always overthinking, Miss Marple. Robbery explains all. Thieves blunder. Thieves. Run." She did not argue. Her gaze returned to the table. The cup, clean. The chair, wrong. The napkin, dropped. And the papers, left too neat. She whispered again. "Fear makes people careless. Fear leaves marks." Dr. Haydock glanced at her. His brow furrowed. He lowered his voice. "Fear, yes, but whose fear? Hers or theirs?" Marple's eyes flicked to the rear. The kitchen door. She remembered it. Ajar. On her first step inside. Slack followed her gaze. He huffed. "Back door. Easy exit. Your thief bolted. End of story." Marple walked closer. The doorframe bore faint smears, a trace of mud. She leaned down. Her stick tapped the floor. Marks on stone, shallow. Pressed deep at the heel. Footprints, leading outward. She straightened, her face set calm, her tone quiet. "Not robbery. Someone ran, but not with money. They ran. From something else." Her words hung heavy. Slack's pen froze. Haydock stared. Silence filled the room. The door waited, open to the night. and on the ground, the footprints waited too. She had been crying for hours. Miss Marple saw her first. Miss Peaton stood apart, eyes red, hands trembling, hair undone. Her grief was plain. Marple stepped closer, her voice gentle. "I'm sorry, my dear." This loss weighs heavy. Miss Peaton nodded quick. Her throat worked. Her words cracked. "She was everything to me. My work, my home, my safety. All gone now." Marple tilted her head. "You knew her habits well." "Yes, always the same. 7 sharp each night. Earl Grey blend, ledger open, pen ready. Not once did she change. But last night." Peyton hesitated. Her gaze shifted. Her lips trembled. Yes, something different. She was nervous, checking locks, jumping at sounds. Even asked me to stay late. Stay late? Peyton clutched her hands. She wanted everything perfect. Best china, fresh roses, special blend. From the locked cabinet. Marple's eyes narrowed. Special blend. Yes, she only used it for rare clients. The expensive leaves. She said a guest was coming. An important meeting. Dr. Haydock listened close. His brow tightened. "She told you who?" "Number only that it mattered. She wanted no mistakes. I laid the cups myself. I prepared the pot. I set the table. Then she dismissed me." Marple watched her carefully. She seemed afraid. Yes, afraid, but also proud, like she was ready for a test. She even made me polish the silver spoons. Inspector Slack broke in. He smirked. "So a meeting. Secret guest. Important talk. We know enough." Marple shook her head. "Not yet. We know nothing of the guest." Slack pulled a small book from the counter. "Then let's see. Her reservation log. Every name, every hour, all here." He flipped pages. His finger stopped. His eyes widened. "Here it is. 7 o'clock. Special entry. 1 word. Written." Marple leaned forward. She read it herself. "May Ashford." The name lay silent. Foreign. Unfamiliar. Out of place. Slack closed the book. "There's your guest. We'll find him. And then we'll have your killer." Marple's voice was quiet. Her mind turned sharp. "May Ashford," she whispered. "Whoever he is, he holds the key." Not everyone looked sad. The crowd gathered outside. Whispers spread. Quick. Faces turned. Eyes shifted. Some heads bent. Some lips tight. Mrs. Price Ridley dabbed her eyes. So dreadful. Who would poison a lady like her? But not all faces matched her tone. A shopkeeper stood stiff. No sorrow there. A maid hid a smile. A farmer folded arms. Silent. Marple watched closely. She knew relief when she saw it. For some, Farweather's death was escape. Chains cut. Fear gone. Slack waved the murmurs aside. Idle talk. Villagers love gossip. Nothing more. Marple said nothing. Her gaze kept moving. Patterns emerged. Some avoided the subject. Some welcomed it too fast. The truth sat between. Colonel Weatherbay appeared. Dog on a lead. Hat low. Eyes turned down. He walked past. Fast. No glance at the tea room. Marple tilted her head. "Colonel," she called. He stopped. He nodded stiff. "Terrible news. I must hurry." No questions. No sympathy. He moved on quick. Slack smirked. Odd fellow. But harmless. Still, he looked guilty enough. Marple's eyes narrowed. Appearances mislead, but something presses him. The villagers broke apart. Chatter faded. But unease remained. Secrets hung in the air. Haydock muttered. Half of them seem relieved. What does that tell us? Marple's reply was soft. It tells us she held too much power, and power builds enemies. Slack cut in. Enemies or not, money's the key. Always is. Let's see. The bank. Inside the manager's office, papers lay stacked. The man's hands trembled. His eyes avoided theirs. He cleared his throat. Mrs. Farweather was here yesterday. She withdrew. A sum. Marple leaned closer. How much? The manager paused. He glanced at Slack, then at the floor. Finally, he whispered, far more than usual, enough to matter, enough to tempt. Marple felt her chest tighten. Money meant leverage. Leverage meant motive. Slack slapped his notebook shut. There, robbery again. I said it from the start. Marple's tone was flat. Number not robbery. A payment. Or a price. The manager's voice broke low. She said it must be ready, that night. She seemed unsettled. Marple's hand closed on her stick, her voice barely a whisper. Unsettled before death, fear before poison. Now, money tied to it. Her eyes met Haydock's. Both understood. The threads tightened. The pattern grew. The ledger, the tea, the chair. Now, the money, and still. The shadow of M. Ashford. Guilt was written on her face. Victoria Farweather stepped inside. The villagers turned. Whispers followed. Her eyes red, her steps unsteady. Marple studied her. The same sharp features, her mother's lines, but softer, younger, shaken. Victoria's voice cracked. I came as soon as I heard. I had not spoken to her in months. Marple nodded once. You lived away. Yes, London. We quarreled. I stayed away. Pride held me back. She lowered her gaze. Her hands clenched. Her voice dropped. She wrote to me last week. She asked to meet. She said she wanted peace. She said she was ready to start fresh. Marple tilted her head. Start fresh. Did she say how? Victoria hesitated. Her eyes filled again. She spoke of closing the tea room. She mentioned selling everything. She wanted to move, to live quieter, to be near me. Haydock shifted uneasily. So she planned change. Victoria whispered, yes. A new beginning. But first, she said she had business to settle. Business? She never explained. Slack snorted. Business? That means money. She withdrew it. We know that already. Marple stayed silent. Her mind worked. A woman of habits. Suddenly planning to end them. A shift. Too large. She spoke low. Such change suggests more than money. It suggests she was preparing to let go. Or preparing to fight. Victoria's lip trembled. She feared something. I could read it in her letter. She said time was short, that she had matters to put right. But she also said she hoped we could be family again. The villagers whispered nearby. Some pitied her. Others turned cold. Old quarrels. Remembered. Marple touched her arm gently. Your mother wanted more than peace. She wanted release. Victoria looked at her, startled. What do you mean? Before Marple could answer, Slack cut in. Release? Nonsense. This is simple greed. Withdrawn cash. Robbery gone wrong. Case closed. Marple ignored him. Her eyes stayed on Victoria. You said she had business. Did she keep records of it? Victoria nodded slowly. Her words carried weight. She kept everything, letters, names, files. She called them her records of people. The room fell quiet. Slack's pen stopped. Haydock's eyes darkened. Marple leaned back, her whisper sharp. Records of people. Then this death is larger than money. This death is tied to secrets. The china had gaps. Miss Marple's eyes narrowed. The cabinet was not full. Spaces showed. Cups missing. Plates gone. Once perfect, now broken. She remembered the set. Spode, Worcester, Crown Derby. Mrs. Farweather displayed them all. She boasted of them often. She never allowed one piece out of place. Marple stepped closer. Her stick tapped the floor. The shelves told a story. This was not clumsy police work. This was removal. Deliberate. Haydock saw her look. What do you see? Not robbery. Something quieter. Either she sold pieces or hid them. Why hide them now? Slack scoffed. Old woman confused. She misplaced them. Means nothing. Marple said nothing. Her eyes stayed sharp. The missing china mattered. It linked to her sudden change. It linked to her withdrawal. A boy shuffled near, barefoot, cap in hand. The errand boy, from the grocer. He bit his lip. He looked unsure. Marple spoke gently. You saw something? He nodded slow, his voice low. I heard voices from the tea room last night, loud voices, raised, like arguing. Slack snapped. Rubbish. What would you know, boy? But the boy stood firm. I was outside, delivering a basket. I heard her voice and another, a man. I think. Marple's breath caught. You are sure? Yes, miss. I heard her say, you must wait. You'll have it. Tomorrow. Slack barked. Nonsense. Children imagine. Worthless chatter. The boy flushed. He lowered his head. He stepped back, ashamed. Marple touched his shoulder, her tone warm. You did right to speak. Voices matter. Every word matters. She turned back to the cabinet. She whispered low. China gone, money withdrawn, promises made, and now death. Slack waved his hand. Put it aside. We stick with facts. Cup, poison, guest, done. Marple's eyes held calm. She gave no answer, but her thoughts turned fast. The boy's words stayed heavy. A promise of payment, a demand unmet, a reason for fear. She stayed quiet. The others argued. Slack scribbled. Haydock frowned. But Marple's silence cut deeper. Her mind whispered. A gap in the cabinet, a gap in the truth, and someone desperate enough to shout. She folded her hands. She kept her secret. Her eyes gave nothing. The errand boy's words rang again. You must wait. You'll have it. Tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. She lowered her voice. Miss Peyton sat near the counter, hands folded, eyes restless, her lips pressed thin. Fear lived on her face. Marple leaned closer. Something troubles you. Peyton nodded faintly. She was not what she claimed, not always a businesswoman, not always a hostess. Marple kept silent. The pause worked. Peyton's words spilled, slow. She served once as a maid, a lady's maid, in great houses, among the rich, among the proud. Her voice cracked. She watched, she listened, she collected secrets of masters and mistresses, of guests and lovers, of debts and sins. Haydock frowned. Rumors? Peyton shook her head, hard. Not rumors, truth. She never forgot. She wrote them down. She hid them, well. Marple's eyes narrowed. She kept these secrets? Peyton nodded. Yes, at first, for protection. Later, for power. Slack scoffed. Protection? You mean blackmail, clear as day. Peyton's cheeks burned. She did not deny. She had files, bundles, pages with names, dates, payments, threats. She had no mercy. Her voice dropped further. She built her life on fear. Fear of others. Fear they would be exposed. Marple whispered back. Exposure is a weapon, and every weapon creates enemies. Peyton's hands shook. She told me once, people pay more to hide shame than to buy bread. She laughed when she said it. Haydock muttered, that explains her money and her enemies. Slack snapped his notebook shut. Still gossip. Show me proof. Where are these so-called files? Peyton's face turned pale. Her eyes shifted away, her voice near breaking. She hid them, locked them, changed the places, often. I never saw the whole, only glimpses, letters sealed in ribbon, photographs tucked in envelopes, enough to ruin lives. Marple leaned back, her gaze steady, her tone quiet. You feared her, too. Peyton's lips trembled, her head bowed, tears touched her cheek. Yes, even me, I served her. I stayed by her side, but she held me too. A secret of mine. Always just enough. Marple touched her arm. Software. You lived in her shadow, but shadows cannot stay forever. Patton looked up. Her voice broke. She kept everything. She kept letters. She kept photographs. The papers smelled of ink. Victoria placed them on the table. Her hands shook. The bundle was thick. Pages, loose, ribbons, torn. Marple leaned forward. The first sheet showed numbers, initials, dates, payments, marked in neat rows. Victoria whispered, "I found them in her desk, locked drawer. The key was still there." Haydock took a page, his brow furrowed. "These are large sums, not ordinary bills, not trade accounts." Slack grunted. Initials. Could be anyone. Marple's finger traced the list, her eyes sharp. Not anyone. These link to names here, people we know. The room grew tense. Victoria opened another file. Letters, some typed, some in faded ink, all signed. With trembling hands, one read, "This must never reach the public." Another, "If you publish, I am ruined." Haydock's jaw tightened. Blackmail. Plain Victoria nodded. "There's more. A draft of her memoir, unfinished, but the intent is clear." She spread the pages. Each chapter bore titles. The Colonel's Weakness, The Banker's Lie, The Widow's Night. Slack whistled low. She meant to print this, expose half the village. Marple's voice was calm. She did not plan to keep their secrets. She planned to end them. Victoria's eyes filled. She wrote of me, too, of my quarrels, of my life away, even her own daughter. She spared nothing. Marple placed a hand on hers. Secrets held are chains, but secrets exposed are knives. Slack frowned. So money was not her only aim. Marple shook her head. Motive twist, number she planned, destruction. Money fed her, but power drove her. She wanted reputations broken, names ruined, standing lost. Haydock muttered low. Then every person in those pages had reason to kill her. Marple's eyes darkened. Yes, everyone. She built a village of enemies. Victoria opened the last sheet, a diary entry. Her voice shook as she read. Final service, no more mercy. Silence filled the room. The words lay heavy. They carried doom. Marple breathed slow, her eyes fixed on the page, her tone soft. She knew what she was about to do, and she knew it would cost her. Victoria covered her face. Her shoulders shook. She invited her death. She wrote it herself. Marple's hand tightened on her stick. Her whisper hung in the air. Final service. No more mercy. The scent was faint, but real. Dr. Haydock leaned over the cup. He lifted it, slow. He sniffed once. He set it down. Digitalis, he said flat. Without question. Extracted. Prepared. Measured. This was no accident. Slack frowned. You mean a poisoner's hand? Haydock nodded. Skilled. Not too much. Not too little. Enough to still the heart. No trace of chance here. Marple's eyes narrowed. She trusted the tea. She drank it. So the hand belonged to one she knew. Slack barked, or she never noticed. A thief slipped it in, quick, clean. Haydock shook his head. No thief carries digitalis powder. This was planned. Someone brought it. Someone who knew herbs. Someone who knew death. Marple's tone was soft. Many in this village know herbs. They brew teas. They keep gardens. They mend with roots and leaves. Slack stiffened. Name them. Marple did not rush. Mrs. Hartwell. She keeps a shelf of bottles. Colonel Weatherby. He grows foxglove in his yard. Mrs. Price Ridley. She swears by homemade tonics. Even Miss Peaton. She learned blends. From her mistress? Slack grunted. Too many. Half the place is guilty, if that's proof. Haydock leaned closer. There's more. The dose here was precise. This wasn't guesswork. This was knowledge, measured by someone practiced. Marple nodded. Knowledge makes murder easier, but it also narrows the hand. Victoria shuddered. So anyone with training could have done it? Haydock answered plain. Yes. And more than one had cause. Slack slapped his notebook. Ridiculous. Too wide. Too vague. I want one name. Marple whispered low. One name will come, but not yet. The truth hides behind too many hands. Slack scowled, scribbled rough lines. No sense, a dozen suspects, all with herbs, all with reason. Haydock packed his bag, his voice heavy. Then the question is not only who could, it is who dared. Marple folded her hands, her gaze held steady, her words soft. Daring comes from fear, and fear leaves its own trail. Slack dropped his pen. He muttered low. Too many suspects, too much knowledge, not enough proof. His eyes narrowed. He looked at the empty chair again. Confusion hardened his face. Marple said nothing. Her silence spoke louder. The truth was close. But the path was crowded. The name was false. Inspector Slack held the reservation book. His finger pressed the line. One name stood out. M. Ashford. He grunted. Never heard of him. Stranger, no doubt. Wrote this to cover tracks. Marple leaned closer, her eyes sharp. The hand is disguised, the strokes forced, not natural writing. Haydock bent down. He took the book. He studied each loop, each curl, each break, in ink. This is deliberate, he said. A heavy hand, made light, a common hand. Trying to look fine, but mistakes show. Slack frowned. Mistakes? Haydock nodded. The cross on the T, the tail on the D. Small quirks, habits, don't vanish. Marple whispered, compare it. Haydock opened other records, names, written over months, bills signed, orders logged. He pointed. See here. And here. Same quirk, same tail. Slack leaned in, his eyes widened. You're saying it matches someone local? Yes, Haydock said. Not a stranger, a villager. Marple's voice stayed calm. That was always the truth. The killer walked among us, not from outside, from inside. Slack's jaw tightened. Whose hand, then? Haydock hesitated. He pulled another sheet. He matched the strokes. He tapped, hard. This one, this is close. The page bore the name, Mrs. Hartwell. Charity treasurer, respected face, regular. At the tea room. Slack straightened. His eyes narrowed. Well then, she had reason. She kept funds. She feared exposure. Marple's tone was even. She knew herbs. She knew ledgers. She knew Mrs. Farweather. Well, Victoria's breath caught. She was kind to me. But my mother never trusted her. Said she lied. In accounts. Slack smacked the book shut. That's enough. She's our woman. Motive, means, chance. We don't need more. Marple's lips pressed tight. Her whisper, low. False trails run easy. The truth runs deeper. Haydock looked uneasy. I admit the match is near, but near is not proof. Slack dismissed him. Proof comes with pressure. I'll have her talk. One way. Or another. The villagers outside stirred. Rumors spread. Mrs. Hartwell's name passed from lip to lip. Doubt turned quick. To certainty. Marple stayed quiet. Her thoughts circled. A false name, a false suspect, but still. A path worth watching. Slack lifted his chin, his words cut. Firm. Mrs. Hartwell is my prime suspect. The door was left. Ajar. Miss Marple stepped inside. The back room, narrow. The air carried faint tea. Chairs stood uneven. One cushion, fallen. She looked at the table. Cups in place. Pot. Half drained. Stains marked the cloth. Ledger still open. Letters. Spread. Marple spoke quiet. She welcomed her guest here. She poured the tea herself. She showed him her records. Evidence. Secrets written in ink. Haydock frowned. Then poison slipped in the cup. Marple shook her head. Number not then. She drank freely. At first, no fear in the taste. The dose came later. Slack crossed arms. How later? Marple pointed. The second cup stands clean. He never touched it. She poured. He refused. She spoke. He listened. He rose, and only then. Poison touched the tea. Haydock leaned closer. After he stood? Yes, she turned her head, or looked away, or trusted him. That gave the chance. Victoria whispered. She must have shown him the ledger, threatened him with it. Marple nodded. She pushed too far. She used fear, and fear answered. Slack tapped his pen. Then he bolted, straight out the back, door left wide. Marple studied the marks, mud near the threshold, steps leading out, pressed deep at heel, heavy weight, firm stride. Haydock bent down. Not stumbling, not panic. This was steady. This was practiced. Marple agreed. The killer walked, not fled. He left, with calm. Victoria trembled. Calm after murder? Marple's gaze hardened. Yes, because he had thought it through. Because this was no accident. Because he believed the plan was perfect. Slack smirked. Perfect plan? We already see cracks. Marple's eyes stayed fixed. Cracks, yes, but not of haste, only of pride. The silence deepened. Each clue settled. Heavy. Tea poured. Secrets revealed. Poison placed. Exit through the kitchen. Calm steps. Into night. Marple lowered her voice. The killer was calm, too. Calm. The satchel was heavy. Victoria dragged it to the table. Leather, cracked, straps, worn, lock, broken. She dropped it. Down. Marple leaned close, her eyes steady. Where did you find it? Victoria caught her breath. In her closet, hidden under blankets. I almost missed it. Slack pulled the flap open. He whistled. Papers, bundles, tied with string. Too many for trade. Haydock took one. He scanned the lines. Names, initials, amounts, dates, reaching years back. Marple spoke low. Systematic, not random, regular payments. Victoria opened another file. This one, heavier. Inside were envelopes. Some held letters, some photographs, each marked with dates. She whispered, Colonel Weatherby, I see his name, here. Slack leaned forward. Go on. Mrs. Hartwell, receipt signed, small sums, repeated. Mr. Blackwood, larger amounts, frequent. Marple's lips pressed thin. She kept them all in her grip. She built her life on blackmail. Haydock muttered. Blackmail that lasted years. Victoria nodded. She never stopped. She grew bolder. Each page shows more victims. Each year added more. Slack's pen scratched. 3 names alone give motive. Weatherby, Hartwell, Blackwood. Enough to hang. 10 suspects. Marple whispered. Not just them. Every page is another chain. Every payment. Another reason for fear. Victoria pulled out a folded paper. Her hand shook. It's her handwriting. Look. At this. She read aloud. I hold them. They bend. They pay. They always will. Until I end it. Haydock frowned. End it? How? Victoria opened the last bundle. It was thicker than the rest. Inside lay pages of a draft. Typed, corrected, crossed out, edited, again. Marple leaned closer. The title read, The Truths I Have Kept. Slack grunted. A memoir. She meant to publish it. Victoria's voice trembled. Yes, chapter by chapter. Each one named. Each one exposed. The Colonel's debts, Hartwell's fraud, Blackwood's dealings. Haydock's jaw tightened. She meant to ruin them all. Marple spoke soft. She meant more than money. She meant destruction. This was her power. This was her revenge. Victoria clutched another page. Her whisper cracked. She called it her final accounting. Everyone avoided the tea room. Chairs stayed empty. Curtains drawn. No customer dared step inside. The sign swung loose. No hand reached the door. Miss Marple watched the street. Villagers passed. Quick. Heads turned away. No greetings. No pause. Only silence. Mr. Blackwood spoke loud, outside his shop. Closing for a trip. Family matter. Gone. By morning. He did not meet eyes. He locked his door. Early. Colonel Weatherby walked the long way round. His dog pulled one path. He forced another. Every day he changed course, avoided the corner, avoided the tea room. Mrs. Hartwell no longer lingered. She hurried past, eyes down, her basket clutched tight, her lips pressed shut. Slack muttered, "They act guilty, all of them, scared faces, hidden hands." But which one poisoned her? Haydock answered flat. Any could. All had reason. Each one feared her book. Marple stayed quiet. Her eyes moved steady. Fear had spread. It lived. In every step. It weighed. On every breath. Then a maid came forward. Cap loose. Voice low. She looked both ways before speaking. "I heard her," she whispered. "Last week, in the back hall. She was not alone." Marple leaned in. "What did you hear?" The maid twisted her apron. Her words trembled. Mrs. Farweather said, "Pay or be ruined." I heard it clear, sharp. Final Slack snapped. Who was she speaking to? The maid shook her head. I could not see. A man's shadow was there, but I dared not stay. I ran before they found me. Marple's eyes softened. "You did right to leave, but your words matter." The maid stepped back. She lowered her gaze. Fear sealed her lips again. Haydock exhaled slow. She threatened openly. No wonder. They hated her. Slack slammed his notebook shut. Too many suspects, not enough proof. We chase shadows, nothing more. Marple's voice was calm. Shadows tell us where to look, but light is still hidden. Slack shook his head. Bah, all of them liars, all of them guilty, and still, I cannot name one. Marple touched her stick. Her whisper carried weight. Fear drives silence, but silence always cracks. It only needs time. The street stayed empty, the tea room dark. Fear hung heavier than grief. Slack muttered again. Too many suspects, not enough proof. Her words were cold. Victoria held the small book, worn cover, pages cramped, ink pressed heavy. Marple adjusted her glasses. She read the lines, slow. Mrs. Farweather's own hand, each word, edged with control. They come uneasy. They whisper in corners. They bring their small payments, but fear grows. Fear makes them clumsy. Victoria swallowed. She wrote of them like prey. Marple turned a page. The next lines, sharper. C.W. asking questions. C.W. doubts his safety. He prowls. He watches. But he will bend. Slack's head jerked. C.W. Colonel Weatherby, of course. She meant him. Marple nodded faintly. Yes, she wrote initials, always coded, but still clear. Haydock leaned closer. She saw him as weak, but also dangerous. She marked his doubts. Marple turned more pages, each filled with names, each mixed with threats. H must break. B will pay again. The widow fears. Most, Victoria whispered. She listed them all. No mercy, no restraint. Marple's tone was steady. She did not care for peace. She cared for pressure. She built her life on it. Slack muttered. She pushed too far. Marple read further. The entries grew darker. Time short. Accounts must close. Delay brings danger. Best to strike first. Haydock frowned. She knew risk. She felt threat. Yet she continued. Marple whispered. Yes, her control gave her pride, but pride blinded her. Victoria trembled. She knew she was in danger. Marple answered plain. She knew, and still. She pressed harder. She chose to accelerate her plan. Victoria opened to the last page. Her voice cracked as she read. No more waiting. No more delay. If they will not pay, they will pay. In reputation. The words fell heavy. No softness. No mercy. Slack tapped his pen. She signed her own death. She pushed them all. One. Pushed back. Marple closed the book. Her voice calm. Her words cut deeper than any knife. She left them no choice. And she knew. It. Victoria covered her face. Her whisper broke. She invited it. She wrote her doom, herself. Marple's eyes stayed firm. Control is power, but power makes enemies, and enemies do not forgive. The flame lit her face. Miss Marple stopped in the yard. The night was still. The kitchen door hung half open. Inside a glow flickered. A small fire burned low. Miss Peaton knelt close. Her hands shook. She fed papers to the flame. Edges curled. Ink blackened. Smoke lifted in thin trails. Marple stepped forward, her voice steady. Why burn? What others should see? Peaton gasped. She turned quick, her eyes wide, her face pale. Tears streaked her cheeks. I had to, she whispered. They would have ruined me. Marple's gaze stayed firm. Which papers? Peaton held out the last sheet, half burnt. A list of names, a sum beside hers. Her own secret, marked clear. Marple spoke low. You took money, Peaton sobbed. Yes, small sums, for medicine. My mother needed it. I had no choice. Marple pressed, and she found out. Peaton nodded quick. She saw the missing coins. She kept the account. She told me I must serve her closer. She used my shame. She made me spy. I watched her guests. I copied their words. I carried her threats. Haydock stepped into the door, his face hard. Blackmail on top of blackmail. Peaton's voice broke. She promised to tell no one if I obeyed, but then she changed. She wrote her book. She said my name would be there, even me, her own servant. Marple's eyes softened. You feared ruin. Peaton shook. Yes, all would know. My mother would die of shame. I could not let it happen. Slack's voice cut in. So you poisoned her. Peaton trembled. Her eyes lowered. Her whisper faint. Yes, I crushed the leaves. I mixed them fine. I dropped them after she poured. She never saw. Haydock's jaw tightened. You measured the dose well. I had learned, Peaton said. She made me brew tonics for years. I knew enough. I used what I knew. Marple asked quiet. You sat with her? Peaton nodded. Yes, at first. She spoke of her accounts. She waved her pages. She told me soon. All would break. Then she turned her head. I dropped it in. She drank. She smiled. She died. Victoria's voice cracked. You. All this time? You? Peaton's hands shook. Her eyes closed. Her voice almost gone. She forced me. She left me. No escape. I killed her. To silence. Her. Slack leaned closer. Then who was... Ashford. Peaton opened her eyes. Her lips moved. Slow. Her whisper. Cold. I was... Ashford. The village was quiet. Again. The tea room stayed shut. Curtains drawn. Tables bare. The sign removed. Miss Peaton walked between officers, her wrists bound, her face drained, her steps heavy, no struggle left. Slack marched close, notebook shut, his voice clipped, motive clear, confession given, case closed. The villagers gathered in silence. Some nodded, some whispered. Relief showed, but fear lingered. Mrs. Hartwell clutched her shawl. She looked away. Colonel Weatherby tightened his jaw. Blackwood muttered about travel again. None met each other's eyes. Haydock shook his head. Justice served, yet still bitter. Marple stood near the doorway, her stick firm, her voice calm. Justice names the hand, but justice cannot heal the wound. Victoria approached her, her eyes wet, her voice soft. My mother was cruel, but she was still my mother. Marple touched her arm. She built her life on secrets. She thought them power. But secrets are chains, and chains break all who hold them. Victoria lowered her head. She ruined others, and she ruined herself. Marple nodded once. The truth saves justice, but wounds remain. Scars do not fade quickly. Not here, not for any of you. The villagers turned away. They carried their fear home. They carried their shame, too. The records burned, but memory lived. No one escaped, untouched. Slack barked orders. The officers led Piaran down the road. The sound of boots echoed. The crowd drifted. The street emptied. Haydock sighed. He looked at Marple. You always see what others miss. Marple's reply was quiet. I only listen. Fear always speaks. It speaks louder than words. He gave a nod, then left her standing. Marple glanced at the tea room. Once more. The windows dark. The door is locked. The end of a place once busy. She breathed slow, her whisper soft. Greed corrodes trust. Secrets destroy peace, and no village is free of them. Her eyes lifted to the square. The cottages, quiet. The lanes, still. All seemed calm. But calm hides truth. Calm hides danger. Calm hides the next shadow. Her voice was low. Her words final. In every quiet village, behind every tea room door, another shadow waits.